Thank you, Presiding Officer. This is a chaotic budget from an incompetent government that will leave ordinary Scots paying much more and getting much less in return. The SNP's mismanagement of our public finances has left us with a massive gap to be filled between what they promised and the tax revenues that ordinary Scots pay. That's an SNP waste gap, it's an SNP incompetence gap, and it's a huge SNP growth gap. If Scotland's economy had kept pace with other parts of the UK, it would now be £8.5 billion larger. And the failure of this government over 16 years to focus on the priorities of country rather than party means they now need the taxpayers to bail them out as a result. And, Presiding Officer, it is chaos. There's no other word for it. They were raising council tax by 22%, and suddenly, unbeknownst to civil service or even to the Cabinet, they were freezing it. They had a plan to cut thousands of jobs in the public sector. Then the Deputy First Minister came to Parliament and said the plan was cancelled. Now the plan for thousands of job cuts is back with a vengeance. The Deputy First Minister invited all opposition parties to suggest their cuts, and then Humza Yousaf announced £1 billion of conference spending commitments as he panic-spent public money following the Rutherglen by-election. And now we're told the black hole is the biggest it's ever been. They have neglected the day job of growing the economy and delivering public services for Scotland. Tax cannot and should not be used as a substitute for economic growth, because NHS waiting times are soaring. Cancer waits up again this very day. GP services and NHS dentistry, a fiction, Presiding Officer, for many across our country, but it does not need to be like this. Scotland cannot accept more managed decline from the SNP with two incompetent governments across the UK. Scotland needs change, and, Presiding Officer, change is coming. So, Presiding Officer, does she, the Deputy First Minister, accept that her government's failure to grow Scotland's economy means we are lagging behind England and Wales? Will this horrendous budget mean, what will it mean for the 1 in 7 Scots currently on an NHS waiting list? How many more Scots will be on NHS waiting lists by next year? How many public sector workers will be made redundant as a result of this budget? And why does she think the hard-pressed people of Scotland should bear the brunt of her government's failures in higher taxes and cuts to services?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, I'm not sure in there whether Michael Marra is saying that he is against those with the broadest shoulders paying a bit more, and therefore there would be less revenue. There would be less revenues for public services. So I take it what Michael Marra is confirming today is that the Labour Party would see £82 million less investment in public services. So that is now on the record, and I think that is something that is incredible for a Labour finance spokesperson. Today, the Welsh Labour government, of course, set their budget. And this is what the Welsh Finance Minister, Rebecca Evans, had to say. She said, we've had to take some really difficult decisions to radically redesign our spending plans to focus funding on the services which matter most to the people of Wales. We've been presented with the most stark and painful budget choices in the devolution era, and we've had to reshape departmental spending plans so that we can invest more in our schools and protect the NHS. Those are exactly the same issues facing this government. So why is it that Michael Marra and the Labour Party in this place support the position of the Welsh Labour government in putting the blame where it lies at the UK government's door, but they come here and don't accept the same premise for this Scottish government? Let me be really clear. In my statement, I've been clear that we are prioritising funding for the NHS and vital frontline services. And we are raising revenues in order to do that. And in terms of jobs in the public sector, as Michael Marra knows, we have a position very clearly of no compulsory redundancies. So we will work with our trade union colleagues in making sure that we reform our services in a way that can make them sustainable and high quality. That's what we'll get on. We'll just leave Michael Marra and the Labour Party to whinge from the sidelines, as they always do.
Alex Cole-Hamilton.